I'll bring us in. Well, hello, and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn. I'm delighted, my returning special guest, the wonderful Charles Mullins. How are you, Charlie?
I'm very good, Andrew. Thank you. Very good. And
It's good to
yourself?
see you. And where are you at the moment?
At the moment, I'm in the UK, in my apartment in Westminster. But probably, as you know, I moved to Spain now. So I'm just visiting just a few interviews and a few other bits and pieces.
Yeah,
And of
there's
course,
only one interview that matters, Charlie, and it's more a chat, with the Andrew Eborn Show. It's always been the style of the
I've
show.
been
It's got to be
waiting
good.
for the return of this one. So you are correct now.
It's got to be good. I want to take you all the way back because within this little section, I want to do a deep dive into the real Charlie Mullins and talk about your phenomenal career, but also about your new venture as well. But let me take you all the way back to the 28th of October, 1952. Sydney Charles Mullins came into this world. What do you remember of your childhood?
Uh, Not very many good things. I mean, I have three brothers, and obviously parents were alive at the time. We come from a very poor background, like many people at the time, and life was a struggle. My father worked in a factory. My mother worked in, well, probably about three jobs. Cleaning, barmaid, and cleaning again, I would think. Um, yeah, so it was, as like a lot of people at the time, quite tough, no money, and just about surviving, I would say.
So your father was a factory worker and your mother a cleaner. You grew up in Camden, didn't you?
That's right, until I was about 11 years of age, and then I moved to South London, Elephant and Castle. But yeah, I was born in Camden Town, and from an early age of about 9, I was always doing jobs, whether it be milk round and bag wash delivery, car washing, and eventually I was working with a local plumber in the area that I used to bunk off school and go and work with him, and the seeds were sown then. I mean, it was just fantastic. Like, I always say, if he'd have been a bank robber, I'd have been a bank robber because I was at that age that whatever he was going to teach me, I was just so interested in it. And the inspiration for him was, he had a motorbike, a car, jewelry, nice house, holidays, money, lovely clothes. He just seemed to have everything being a plumber. And I thought myself that's what I want.
Yeah, and it's always about sort of influences, isn't it? And if you get role models that you can really look up to, that they're going to inspire you going forward, aren't they?
Undoubtedly, I mean, undoubtedly, we all learn from somebody, and wrong road and right road, and I was fortunate enough that he was going on the right road, and it just taught me basic things of, how to survive, how to sort of behave with people, just how to sort of get by each day and make the most of it, and he was a normal guy, and I followed him a hell of a lot. Even without knowing, I followed him with things like he was a boxer, I boxed. He used to bunk off school, so I bunked off school. He used to do all the little jobs. Then, in the plumbing, I followed him in that. Then he had like a retail shop, and I've done that. And a lot of the stuff is just unintentionally, but yeah, I just feel that, I picked up so much of his sort of way of doing things.
Yeah. What was his name?
Bill Ellis, Bill
Bill
Ellis.
Ellis. And how did you meet Bill?
He was just in the area and like, was talking to all the local kids, like, with this motorbike kind of thing. And, everyone was fascinated by it. And I think he lived just a couple of doors, or actually, I think we lived yeah, just about a door or two away. And, he had this motorbike and like the middle of the night, he used to, go off out in it and gossipy people were saying, oh, he's probably a crook, he's going out up to things. But of course, he was going out and doing emergency work. And, he didn't make that obvious to everyone because why should he? Um, and, it was just, I realized how fortunate I was to meet someone like him. And it was just, he used to say to me, like, just copy me. And, if and when you leave school, get an apprenticeship in plumbing, you'll never be out of work and you'll earn loads of money. And, and I say that to people now, and it's more so today than then, I think. So it's just a great inspiration.
Yeah. So this was the Rockingham estate, wasn't it, on Elephant and Castle? What was life like on the estate?
Phew. yeah, so all of a sudden we moved from Camden Town. God knows why. Well, I think we moved because it was in like private dwelling, so it had no bathroom. You should drag the tin bath in from outside, and no hot water. You'd be doing all that, and I think they offered my parents a flat, a top floor flat in like a block of flats that needs like pulling down kind of thing. These are old sort of flats at Elephant and Castle, and we took there, moved there, and I think in a way I regret it because I then missed out on working with Bill. I used to go back over there at weekends, but I suppose we got used to it, and then I was doing jobs over there, pulling the market stalls out and running different errands and that. But it was different from North London. I sort of regard myself now as South London because, from 11 years of age up until now, I've always been, sort of associated with South London. Um, but I wasn't a great one for school. I was still bunking off school. I'm not suggesting people do that. I'm just saying that's how it was for me. And, I felt it was more valuable for me to go and earn some money than what it was to sit at school, talking about logarithms and, things that ain't going to make any difference in my life and Latin and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Only
So
Latin
you,
word I know is plumber.
yeah. So you left school at 15, with no qualifications. What did your parents feel about that?
It wasn't an issue. I mean, when I think about it, it was. I mean, it was more the right thing to do because you had to pay housekeeping and you had to, get money, and they can't sort of support you forever. I mean, they were struggling themselves, so I would say that they welcomed it, and it was more respectful than to leave school and get a job. It wasn't about staying on at school. I mean, yes, if you was that academic and you was going to go down that road, but that was never the road I was going. It was always going to be in the plumbing. I always, wanted to be a plumber. That was it. That would have done me. So I would think they was very much in favour of it. Obviously, looking back now, leaving at 15 with very little education, I realised it was a big mistake. I should have left at 14 because I was always going to be a plumber. There's no point in me just wasting time in school. And looking back, I think you get educated in the workplace.
Yeah. So you work, I mean, and you're a big advocate, brilliant advocate for apprenticeships now, having worked with Bill so closely and founded that sort of stuff. When did you make the decision? I think it was 1979 you set up Pimlico Plumbers. What was the catalyst for that?
Well, as you said, I left school at 15. I've done a 4-year apprenticeship, finished at 19, and I immediately become self-employed, start building up a customer base. Then all of a sudden, I'm working in the Pimlico area for Pimlico Properties, who was someone like a friend that I knew of, who had the estate agents, and it's just getting me so much work in the Pimlico area, and and then everybody was calling me the Pimlico plumber, and then I realised that the way forward is to employ people. That's a business advice I give to anybody who wants to listen. For you to go forward, you need to employ people. And that's what I done. I took on a one room in the basement in the estate agent's property. And I had sleepless nights. What does a plumber want to rent a room for? I just couldn't work it out properly. And I just took that chance. I don't know what made me take it. I thought maybe I store my tools there. Maybe I'll go in there for a tea break. Maybe I, write some invoices out. I just wasn't sure, but I sort of took it on, and then your mind starts thinking how to expand. And I took someone on part time to answer the phones because you used to have answer machine, and just gradually grew from there. And in the end we moved over to Lambeth area, a 30,000 square foot building, and we were turning over 50 mil, at about 450 people working with us, 1,200 apprentices over the years. So it just went forward and forward. But of course, there's many ups and downs on the way.
Yeah, and so I mean, people do this. There are a lot of plumbers who'll be watching this say, "Oh, I wish I was Charlie Mullins. I've done a lot, love to have been so successful." And most of them just stay by being self-employed. What made you the decision, seeing that hole in the market? What made you make that decision to basically build this empire as it was?
Yeah. Well, at the time, plumbers and quite a few tradesmen had a very bad reputation, and it was, turning up late, scruffy, dirty old van, making excuses, not transparent, leaving a mess, not finishing the job. And, I was getting that as an apprentice. The customers were saying to like Bill and that, oh, other people we've had here and they ain't finished it. And I thought to myself, when I become a plumber, I don't really want people to be moaning at me about not doing what I should be doing. And, as simple as that, I just done a list of all the bad things and just put what the opposite is and done the opposite, turning up on time, smart and tidy, finish the job, transparent, don't leave a mess, polite. It was just, to me, it was just so obvious what to do. And again, it's something I say to people that if you've got a business, just find out what all the bad things are and do the opposite kind of thing. And it certainly worked for me anyhow.
Yeah. And so what were the biggest challenges when you're setting this up? Because it's very different being self-employed, a one-man band, if you like, and then having to manage a lot of people. Well, what has been the biggest challenge?
Well, there's been many, but certainly coming from the tools into an office was like a nightmare. I was like a tiger in a cage. I was just, couldn't stand the office. I'm not, that way inclined like I like to be hands on. So coming off the tools was the big move. But again, I realized that, you can't be like the captain of the ship and sort of, stoking the boiler. You've either got to be one or the other. And, I knew that staying in the office and dealing with customers and like inspiring people to work for me was the way forward. So that was quite a big change to come from that. And then the other big thing is employing people. I always say to anybody that's got a business, it's the best thing in business, but it's also the worst thing. It's a double-sided sword there, and employing people can be a nightmare, but it's the way forward. The more people you got on board, the way I look at it, the more the business will grow and the more money you're going to make if you get it right.
Yeah. And it is interesting because they're introducing all sorts of laws and regulations now, Starmageddon, as we say it, giving more and more rights to the employees. Well, what are your views on those?
Whew. Absolutely ridiculous. I think what he's come out with the workers' rights thing. I'm all for equal opportunities for anybody, and I'm not suggesting anything untoward, but at the moment it's very much loaded for workers or for the employee. And when you've got when the employee's got more rights than the employer, then something's wrong. It's not going to work. And unfortunately now it's putting off people from employing people, expanding their business. You've got a contract from day one. It's just absolutely crazy. Starmer or I don't think none of the Labour cabinet have ever been involved with business. They certainly haven't run their own business. They've been involved with charities and non-profitable things and, civil servants. But they're clueless on business. And, I actually believe that it will destroy the economy, undoubtedly. I think it will break Britain, if I'm being honest with you. And I think it will take us so low that we're going to get a new government in and we will completely start again. I honestly feel this man is the worst thing that could ever happen in politics.
Yeah. And one of the points I often make is that 1% of the people pay 30% of the taxes. And if you drive them away, then the burden's actually going to be greater on those remaining. You
But,
yourself, you told me on this very show, you told me that you would leave if Starmer came in, and
well,
you
I've
have
left.
left.
I've left. I mean, I'm back here now, still have an apartment here, but I'll be selling that because, again, he's talking about increasing inheritance tax to possibly 45, 50%. He's talking about increasing capital gains tax. He's talking about putting tax rate up. He's obviously stopped the allowance for pensioners. It's just going about it the wrong way. I mean, he's destroying the economy, and he's driving business people out. He's driving entrepreneurs, billionaires, millionaires, and he's even driving people that are just working and getting a reasonable living. They're just not prepared, I think, to keep putting into the pot and in wasting their money. It's their money that he's wasting. And it's just driving people away. But I've had this sort of conversation with number 10, through the papers. And according to Starmer, he says that the UK is a great place to do business. Well, he wouldn't want to say that on oath because he's got it wrong. It's absolutely destroying the economy. and it will
And
continue to destroy the economy. It just, you're supposed to incentivize sort of successful people and let them expand and let them take on more people and let them train more people, but it's penalised them. I mean, I think he despises successful, wealthy people.
yeah, it's a worrying time. And talk about success. I mean, it's in many countries. I have Elon Musk's father on Errol every single day, talking about news stories, and he makes the big difference between what happens in the US where they celebrate success and in the
That's right.
UK where they sort of resent it a bit, don't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, not everybody. Obviously, there's a lot of people that understand it, and lot of people want to better their life and better other people's life and help others, into the workplace. But for some reason, Labour government just don't seem to. I mean, they definitely understand it, but if you wanted someone to destroy the economy, he would get a gold medal for it because that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Um, everybody knows that you encourage people. I think I can't remember. I think it was in the 80s or something when they put the tax rate up to 95 pence in the pound, and a lot of people went off to America. And again, they're the people that are going to create wealth. They're the people that really want to make things happen. And he just drove them out. Not he didn't drive them out, but the government did then. And that's what's happening now. But they deny it. He says that people are not leaving. Well, he's got it wrong. I mean, I know people that are left. I know people that are planning to leave. And we will lose so many good business people that we need now. And I say, as soon as Labour got in, I was gone.
Right.
I was gone straight away. I had a place in Marbella, and I just thought to myself, I don't want to be paying into the system no more. I think they're wasting their money. I'll just be very frank with you. I think they seem to be helping out people that don't contribute to the society, who just come over here to claim benefits and make the most of it. So I'm just sick and tired of it, if I'm being honest. And people say to me, I'm not very patriotic. They're the people that obviously don't understand about me or about business. But I paid in over 100 mil on tax and national insurance in all the time that I've been at work. Because I sold the business, as you know, for about 140 odd mil, big tax bill on that. So I've always complied with the UK tax law, never avoided it. And I've got people telling me that, I'm not patriotic. They're absolutely clueless. I could not have done any more than what I've done to help this country.
Yeah. And as you say, you've paid millions in tax yourself, so you've benefited, and you're very proud of the country, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're very proud of Great Britain.
Of course I am. Yeah, look, it's a big move to leave. I mean, I have a family here, and it's not an easy move just to get up and go. And it's a massive decision. I've got to be honest with you. It's a big thing, but I just cannot work with the Labour government. I cannot comply with their policies that they're coming out with on workers' rights. I cannot stand the fact that they're what they're doing to pensioners and they're destroying the national health because we're overloaded. I mean, everybody knows where the problem is, but they just seem to be going round in circles and making matters worse. So it was a big decision to leave, but it was the right decision.
Yeah. And you mentioned about selling the business for a hundred, was it 145 million, was it?
Something around that figure, yeah.
Right. So what was the catalyst? What was the reason you decided to sell the business?
Well, it was just after COVID, and we always had a lot of people was interested in the business, and it was doing very very well, extremely well. I think it was turning over 50 mil, and it was undoubtedly the leading plumbing company, certainly in London, possibly the UK. And I've been there 41 years. Started it from a man with a van, and I just felt at the time. I think what with the COVID, with that coming it changed a lot of things, and people, become less interested in going to work and felt that they had the right to stay at home. Don't get me wrong, during COVID, we was extremely busy because, we could go to work because I think it was some special services we had that we was providing. So, we was very geared up in the COVID with the mask and the testing kits and the gloves and the shoes, and we was extremely busy. But again, there was lots of inquiries for the business, and I thought, 140 odd mil is quite hard to turn down.
Yeah, no,
But
you're right. So it wasn't a difficult decision, but do you regret it now?
oh, undoubtedly, blimey, Oh, undoubtedly. Um, look, I sold it to who I thought was the best company to take it over at the time. They're an American company called Neighbourly, and they're the biggest home service company in the world. But I think some venture capitalists bought them out, and it's not run there on a personal basis. It's run more on like a American corporate way, and it doesn't work. With the type of business we had, it was very personal. Some customers, been using us for years and years and years. I mean, some of them was the same customers when I was doing the plumbing, and they're loyal people. They want a good service, and allegedly, the new people are not doing very well. I have to say allegedly, evidently.
Keep the
You're a lawyer.
lawyers.
You're a
Keep the
lawyer.
lawyers happy, Charlie. It's all going to be good. You mentioned about COVID and one that being the catalyst for that sort of stuff. You've been on this show beforehand. You had James Freeman was having a pop
Yeah,
at you about one of those discussion, let's put it that way, about the no jab, no job. And what
that's
I wanted
right.
to do was give you the platform to let you clarify that.
Yeah, well, look, at the time we was following government advice, we was following scientists' advice, and the word was, that they want everybody to have the jab. So I didn't sack anybody over it. I didn't get rid of anybody. What I said at the time, I think it was about August time, and I sort of put a memo out to our staff, and in the paper it went, and I said I won't be employing anybody from the end of September that hasn't been jabbed. So I didn't get rid of anyone. I didn't force anyone to have it. Lots of people was having it anyhow by their own means. And then more or less when we got to the end of September, it all sort of blew over kind of thing. So it went out the window anyhow. But I get a lot of people saying, I force people and that. But the real truth is, no, I never. I just said I won't be taking on anybody that hasn't had the jab. And you couldn't get on a train, you couldn't get on a plane, you couldn't go in a restaurant without. So, we was following the advice at the time by the government.
Yeah, and the other thing in your defense, if you like, is that if you're a customer, when there was so much fear being spread by the government about it, it's probably one of the first questions they ask is whether the plumbers have been jabbed, isn't
Exactly.
it?
Exactly. The people was terrified. They was leaving the door open. The plumber would go in. They'd organise the payment by credit card over the phone. They didn't want to see the plumber. But when we explained to them that we're all geared up, and I couldn't say some had the jab and some never. But what we did do in the end, we got the testing kits before the government come out with the idea, and we were saying to the customer, he's tested today, from by us, but he will actually do a test on the doorstep before he comes in, and that was so satisfying to people. They was terrified of some. Well, we all was, we wouldn't let anybody in, but we was very very busy during that period, where because lots of people was just wouldn't go to work, couldn't go to work, and we was just geared up for it. So again, we done nothing wrong other than looking after our staff and looking after our customers. We had all the testing machine as you came in the building. No one could come in the building without, I think it was the temperature testing and everything. We had, all screens set up and distances. We've done everything that we had to do according to the government and the advice at the time.
Yeah, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because you say, and we chatted on the show beforehand about when you're so reliant on experts, and you're sort of turning around and
Well,
saying you
that's it.
have to
I
do
mean,
this.
I mean, I have to say, if we're given that information again, I mean, you had Prime Minister saying he's got it, and you had, you know, thousands of people dying with it, and you've got somebody saying this is what we need to do: wear a mask, don't get close. I mean, you're not going to go against that. I mean, we all was led to believe that it was the correct information at the time. Lots of stories are flying around now, but again, it's not for me to answer them questions. That's the government and the scientists that told us what to do.
Yeah, that they always say that the people that say lessons will be learned. What lessons do you think you learned during that period?
Oh, blimey. Uh, what lessons did I learn? Well, I would say that we was, moved into an area where we were protecting customers and protecting ourselves. I mean, what did I learn? Would I do the same thing again if another sort of virus came out there and we was given information? I think I'd follow the rules again. I'll be honest with you, because it was we was talking life and death, and I know many people that unfortunately died with COVID. So it was there. It was a problem out there, and yes, it was bad because hospitals were full up and you couldn't walk in the streets and you just couldn't do nothing. And, it's something that we've never tackled before. And, I just think I'd go by the advice again from the so-called experts, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and the media, basically, you were laid to slaughter by some of them, weren't they? What do you think the representation in the press was fair?
Um, Probably not. I mean, they always want to find somebody that's doing something wrong, but we've done nothing wrong. We complied with, I didn't force anyone. Look, we had bad press, we had good press. Um, you know, our customers was requesting that whoever comes here is going to be safe and that he's not got COVID. So we tested engineers every day. I don't think that was wrong at all. I really don't. And as I say, we never forced anyone to have the jab. And so did we get a, yeah, I mean, you know what the press is like anyhow. They can say what they want to say, can't they? But, I don't have an issue with it. And everyone was working with me and came into work, was very happy. We was paying them 20 quid a day extra bonus. We was giving them parking. We was giving them free food and drinks. We was looking after our staff and we was looking after our customers.
Yeah, and in the end, as you say, and in spite of all the headlines screaming, they basically turn around and say there was not one single person, not one single person who lost the job as a result of it. Is that fair?
That's right. That's right. Exactly it. I just made it clear that as from the end of September, I'm not employing anybody that hadn't been jabbed. But by then, it had all of a sudden it disappeared overnight, didn't it? COVID kind of thing. But I have to be honest. I still know people now that have got COVID. It doesn't seem to be severe, probably because they've had the jab. But again, that's uh, you can only if you don't follow the government's what they want you to do, you're going to get in trouble anyhow. If you're just walking the streets and you're not supposed to be. So I think we've done the best we could do, and I've got nothing to regret. I mean, I think we actually safeguarded lots of customers and lots of staff.
No, and I think it's absolutely right that we give you a fair platform to do that. And I think it's what I love about this show, many things apart from it's me. What I love about this show, it gives people a chance to speak properly. You're not edited in any way. It gives you a
Yeah.
full opportunity to respond in a logical, and nothing can be taken out of context because it's you and it's live. Is that fair?
Well, of course, yeah, and everybody's got their views and opinions, and if you've got an anti-vax person, they scream their head off that maybe I should be hung or something. But got other people that have had people that died and very ill over it, and they're saying what a great thing to do. So, but the good news is, Andrew, it's in the past. It's we've moved on from there, and hopefully we never hit anything like that again, because it just changed the world, hasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly has changed. Well, talk about moving on. What we're going to do, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about your political aspects of your own particular persuasions and where you've moved from one party to another, but also talk about your new business. So don't touch that dial.
Lovely. Thank you.